Hello and welcome to another video in Embolden's video tutorial series. In this video we're going to talk about how to add a new page to the website. And in DNN it's very simple. There should be a control panel at the top of the screen if you're logged in. And to the left hand side of it there's the page functions, and the very first function is add. You can be anywhere on the website, doesn't matter where you are, and it doesn't matter where you want this new page to live. Like if it wants to live in grants, you do not have to be in the grants section already when you click add. You can just click add and it will bring up the settings menu with nothing filled out because it's for a brand new page that has no settings yet. So this is the page settings menu. And there's some more settings down here that we're not going to go over yet. We're not going to talk about copying pages in this video or any of the advanced settings. We're just going to go over the basics of these. The first two fields that you'll want to fill out are page name and page title. And it's not entirely clear what the difference is between a page name and a page title. If you know HTML, the title is the actual title attribute. The name is just a reference in the database. If you don't know what that means, then it's pretty easy. The page name is how this is going to appear in your navigation on your site. The page title is how it's going to appear in Google or in a preview created by Facebook or anything else off-site that is going to access your page. So, for example, under About Us for this website, there's a thing called What We Do, and this is a copy of the Kalamazoo Community Foundation's website that Embolden uses as a demo. So under About Us, What We Do, that's a perfectly fine page name. What We Do is the name of that page. That's how it appears in the navigation. However, if that came up in Google, you'd say we. Who is we? I have no idea. I did a search for something and this page came up that said What We Do, but I don't know who we is. I don't know, what this is going to be about, and I don't know if it's worth my time to click on it. So, and same thing if somebody links to it on Facebook and your page just comes up as saying What We Do, and fewer people are going to click on that because it's not as compelling. People don't know what they're going to get and they're not necessarily interested in something generic. So for a page title, you usually want something longer that gives more context. For most Embolden clients and for most organizations, what they do, because this is the easiest way to do it, is they just put the page name again, What We Do, and then dash or colon or whatever you want for a separator, and then the name of the organization, Kalamazoo Community Foundation. This isn't ideal for things like search engine optimization and other things like that we will not get into as part of this technical training. We can talk about communication strategy and SEO in another video. But for now, just know this is generally good enough. It tells people, okay, we're going to a site that's going to talk about the Kalamazoo Community Foundation and obviously what they do. The description is also used off-site. It's going to show up in search engines underneath your title, and it will show up in in Facebook or LinkedIn or any other social media site that does one of those little previews when somebody puts a URL in their status or something like that. The description is considered by Google to be a suggestion, not a command, which basically means if Google decides to, it can ignore the description field and just grab some text off of the page. So if you don't set a description, it's going to ignore it. It's not going to leave an empty description usually. Or if for some reason you put a description in that it, for whatever reason, does not feel users want to see, Google has the option of just grabbing text off of your page instead of using the description that you set. Although most of the time it will use your description. Description should be 156 characters or less. Title should be 70 characters or less. So the description is just a general description of what is the information on this page. It's not a description of the organization as a whole. It should not be the same on every single page. That's really bad. Keywords you can almost definitely safely ignore. The built-in DNN search will recognize keywords. So the site search on your site up here, if you are using the built-in DNN search, it will look at these keywords when somebody's searching and assume that that's a good match. Any external search engine like Google or Bing or Yahoo or whatever, they all ignore keywords because they've just been abused by people who are trying to spam the search engines. So keywords you can almost safely ignore. If you are a nonprofit and you are an Embolden client, you are almost definitely going to be using the Google site search for your site search tool rather than the built-in DNN search. So of these top four, you have the page name and page title, which are how it's going to appear on the site, how it's going to appear in search engines. You have an optional description and keywords you can ignore. Parent page is where this new page will live on the site. So the parent page, if this new thing was going to be in About Us, we would click on this and find the About Us page, and that will be its parent, which means it will be a child. It will live underneath About Us, and by default, it will live at the bottom of this list. So it would be underneath employment opportunities. So I choose About Us, and once I save, this would be at the bottom of this drop-down automatically underneath employment opportunities. You can, and we'll do another video about this, control this navigation a little more. You can reorganize things within these drop-downs. So we could move employment opportunities up to under what we do if we wanted. And if you're on a newer version of DNN, then right in here underneath parent page, it will allow you to say where in that list you want this new page to go. The template folder and page template, if you are an Embolden client, you can ignore both of these. If you are not an Embolden client, you need to talk to your web developer about templates. Included menu does exactly what it sounds like. If this is checked, it will appear automatically in this drop-down. It will also appear in sub-navigation if you have sub-navigation over here. If something is not included in the menu, it does not mean it is secure. It just means it's not showing up in the drop-down. And there's a few reasons why you might want that to happen, but we're not going to get into that in this video. Just assume that for the most part, you're going to want to leave this checked. It's checked by default. If you actually wanted to make something secure, if you wanted it so that somebody could not see the page, you want to use permissions. So unchecking this, include in menu, just means it doesn't show up in the dropdown. It's still indexed in Google. They still might have it bookmarked. They still might have a link to it somewhere saved in an email or whatever. They can still get to that page. If you set permissions up properly, then you can actually secure the page. Permissions allows you to decide who can view this page and who can edit this page. Most likely, if you are an Embolden client, you are an administrator. So you have these two boxes for view and edit. These two columns are grayed out on every page. If you are an administrator, you can automatically see and edit every single page. You may not be an administrator. That would be a determination made by your organization. If you are not the main editor of the website, some organizations set up permission levels where you might have various branches or various affiliates or various offices that are only set up to be able to edit their section of the website and not the whole entire website. But most likely, if you're an Embolden client, you're an administrator. Underneath that, you have these other groups, and we're going to ignore most of them. Some of them are built into DNN, like subscribers, registered users, client, content editor, content publisher, and you're probably not using them. Client administrator is a group that we usually have built in, but it doesn't really affect anything. It's not used for most of our newer sites anymore. It's just a legacy role that's still included from older versions. And you may have specific groups that were set up for you. In this case, they might have a board extranet, and that's a fairly common thing for most nonprofits to have. So you'll have pages on your website that only board members can see when they're logged in. So the average user or a board member who's not logged in can't see the special board section. If they log in, then they can see the special board section. The main thing you're concerned about is this thing that says all users here. All users is everybody, whether they are logged in or not, no matter who you are in that all users group. And this checkbox next to all users is the one you're usually concerned about. And that basically says, can anybody see this page? If it is unchecked, which you'll notice by default, it is unchecked when you create a new page, then that means nobody can see this page. It won't appear in the navigation. And if somebody had a link to it, either by a search engine or a bookmark or whatever, and they click on that, all they're going to see is a login screen. Until they are logged in, they cannot see that page. So usually, when you create a new page, you have to add a module to it. We'll get into that in another video. And you have to go in and edit your content, and sometimes that might take a couple minutes. For most people, it takes hours or even days because you keep revising your content, you're not really happy with it, et cetera, et cetera. You don't want people seeing that process. You don't want this page listed in your navigation and accessible while it's still being built out. So that is why by default, this is unchecked. What you'll always want to do to make a page live is come back into the settings for that page when you're ready for it to go live and check that box. This box over here, under this second column, says edit page. You never want to check this for all users, because that would mean any user who comes to that page can edit the page settings and may or may not be able to edit the actual content on the page depending on how you have the module permissions set up. But when you're first creating the page, we recommend leaving that blank and then coming back in later to check that box. We'll have another video that gets more in depth into permissions and setting up extranets and all that sort of thing at another time. But that's the basic settings. We're not going to get into copying or the advanced settings yet. Those will be in the next couple videos. But as much as it looks like there's a lot of stuff here, really it just wants to know the page name, page title, optional description, where it's going to live, and then, can people see it or not? So the next video, we're going to talk about copying pages, which is more complicated than you think, and we recommend not doing it until you watch that video.